guys, it's Dr. Bickling from Own It Dental. As always, here's my contact information if you need to get a hold of me. And if you guys are enjoying these videos, please do hit that like button. It's right here. It's like right down below, down here somewhere. And it matters a lot to me. Speaking of things that matter, does EBITDA or profit matter? Or are they in fact overrated? I might have a little bit of a different take on it, so let's dig into it. All right, so today we're going to talk about profit and EBITDA. I oftentimes get a lot of questions about, what should the profit be on a healthy dental practice, or how should I be measuring my profit, or how should I be measuring my EBITDA, or when I sell, what should a multiple of EBITDA be? And I get these questions a lot from clients because I, of course, have sold multiple dental offices and have dealt with these things. But at the end of the day, profit and EBITDA might be a little bit overrated. But before we dig into that, let's talk a little bit about what EBITDA is and and what it means. So let's start there. So let me grab my pointer here. All right. So EBITDA is, as it says up here, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's an accounting term that basically means whatever your cash flow is. Both the cash, the asset, the value of your corporation based off of cash flow plus other non-cash assets. So EBITDA is your net income, which would be your profit. After you've paid all your bills, the cash left behind, plus your taxes, interest, expenses, depreciation, amortization. So it's all that bundled into one, and it's an accounting term. And my opinion of EBITDA is it's a fake number, and it can be easily manipulated. And I'm going to dig into that in a little bit. But if somebody ever came up to me and said, Dr. Bickling, what should the profit of a healthy dental practice be? And I would say that the answer is going to vary. But if you just asked me, and I just had to spitball a number, I'd say somewhere between 5% to 20% of top line revenue if you're not a chairside producing dentist. So for the last 4 years of my career, actually the last 7 years of my career, I was not a full-time practicing chairside dentist. Did practice part-time, but still do, but not full-time. So I contributed very little to the top line revenue. But I always aimed to pay myself, 15% of top line revenue. That was my goal as a non-producing owner. But your percentage might be higher if you're a solo practicing provider, so you're doing the work and not paying an associate, and you're a high producer. You could be, your profit could be as much as 50% or more, depending on your fees and how much you're producing. So it can vary a lot. If you're a growing corporation, your profit might be zero. If you're brand new, it might be negative. So I don't get hung up too much on these numbers, but if you're a mature practice and you're not a practicing dentist, you could probably take home, I would say, somewhere between 5 to 15% of top line revenue, and that would be healthy profit. And I do understand that profit can be a measure of how efficient you're running your business, but like I said, it may not be the metric that I use to really evaluate much of anything within my practice, really. I did run a video a while back, and I'll see if I can post a card to it, maybe up here somewhere or up in that other corner. But in any case, this is what the DSOs shoot for. The DSOs, of course, the dental support organizations, the big boys. So this is kind of where they want their percentages to be in terms of their expenses, and this is their target range, and this would be kind of on the high side. So even on the high side, they're probably going to have 95% of their revenue go to expenses. So that would be about a 5% profit. And here they're looking at their target is about 22. So you can pause this video and go through these. I'm not going to get hung up on this too much. Again, go back and look at that video I sent before, and take a look at that, what yours should be. I agree with some of these, disagree with some of them. But this is what the DSOs shoot for, in any case. But here comes the problem with EBITDA. EBITDA is a fake number. I have 3 problems with it, actually, so we're gonna talk about these real quick. First is it's a fake number. It can be easily manipulated. All you're doing is just switching numbers from one side of the balance sheet to the other, so it can be easily manipulated. It's not a true measure of your company's value, in my opinion, and I'll get into that why in a second. And then the only EBITDA calculation that actually matters is the one from the company that's buying you, and they're not going to share their math with you. So, your, calculation of profit or your calculation of EBITDA, it's really meaningless. It really just doesn't make a difference. So, let's knock these out one at a time and see what we mean. So, first, it's a fake number. It can be easily manipulated. Like I said, EBITDA, it's an accounting term, and really to manipulate it, you can just move numbers back and forth on a balance sheet. If I wanted my profitability to go up, by 15%, all I had to do was pay myself nothing, right? Just live off of my savings, and whatever I was paying myself, I'll just keep it in the company, and there you go. I've just increased my profit by 15%. At the end of the day, I'm still gonna have to pay taxes on that, but I won't have to pay payroll taxes on it. So the money's still gonna go into my pocket, but it's going to look like the company had 15%, more profit that year. So, all I'm doing is moving numbers around. Another thing I could do is if I wanted to look more profitable, I could cut my marketing expenses. I could cut my payroll, expenses. I could lay off 10% of people, 15% of people, and just watch my profit go up. Assuming I'm doing the same amount of production with fewer people. I could cut my supply costs and watch that profit go up. So, this number can be easily manipulated, especially in the years leading up to a sale. I can easily make this number look a lot better than it otherwise would if I'm a growing corporation. But the flip side of it is, what if I am a growing corporation and I'm front loading a lot of these costs? I'm hiring more people, I'm building out more operatories, I'm opening up more hours, extending more hours, and just getting all this extra payroll costs, all these extra supply costs. I might run a negative EBITDA, which gets me to my next point is, if I had a $10 million corporation, it's doing $10 million in revenue, but I'm front loading all of these costs by hiring all these people, bringing in all these supplies and equipment, and my EBITDA at the end of that year is zero, does that mean my corporation is worth zero? And the answer to that is, no, of course not. If you're doing 10 million in revenue and your EBITDA was zero, I would bet you could still sell your corporation for like at least 10 million, if not probably 15, maybe even $20 million, so this is where like EBITDA doesn't even matter, it's more your top line revenue that can then determine the valuation of your corporation. So if you think EBITDA is the way you value corporation and you have a 0% EBITDA, I will buy your practice off of you for 20x EBITDA any day of the week. So anyway, so at the end of the day, EBITDA as a valuation of your corporation, I think it's meaningless. And then, like I said, even if you do measure your EBITDA and it's a healthy EBITDA, it doesn't even matter because the only calculation that matters is the one of the corporation that's buying you. And they're not going to share their math with you. They already know what their marketing costs are going to be as a percentage of top line revenue. They already know what they expect your supply costs to be, or your lab costs, or your staff salaries. But they're not going to tell you what that is. So when they're evaluating your company and coming up with their EBITDA number, they're doing it off of metrics that they already use. And like I said, they're not going to share that information with you. So even if you do have a healthy EBITDA that you've calculated, it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. So in all of these cases, EBITDA is just in profit, and again, I'll use these terms somewhat synonymously. EBITDA and profit, oftentimes they're meaningless. They don't really mean anything. They're not a very good metric for measuring the value of your corporation. They don't really measure, the top line revenue or anything like that. It's just they're not real. They're just meaningless numbers. They can be easily manipulated. You can make them, go up or down or however you want to do it, any way you want to. So to me, I don't really think much about EBITDA at the end of the day. I don't think much about profit at the end of the day. It's not really something I look into. At the end of the day, if there is money left over after you've paid all your bills, that money has to go someplace. And this is how I look at it. It either has to go back into the company in order to drive up production, drive up revenue, or it's going to go in your pocket, right? You're going to get taxed on it. It's going to go in your pocket, and you're going to have a nice day. So I believe that your top line production or your top line revenue is a much better determining factor for the valuation of your company. So I would prefer to take any of that profit that's left over and put it back into the company and try to grow revenue. Do that by building out more operatories, hiring more staff, but that does make me front load a lot of those costs, which is going to drive my profit down. So I believe that your top line revenue or your production, and I'll use those two terms synonymously as well. I understand they're not the same, but we'll use them in the same meaning anyway. But I believe that your top line revenue or your top line production is the best measure of the value of your company. But this is where, so if you really want your company to be worth more, you really should be trying to increase your top line production, which then leads to revenue and so on and so forth. So, I think that profit is not a very good measurement of the valuation of your company. I don't think that EBITDA is a very good measurement of the top line. I think it's a meaningless number. But at the end of the day, this is not about the money. I'm talking in terms of production and revenue and EBITDA and profit and all of that stuff. But it shouldn't be about the money. In my opinion, I want to drive that top line revenue because the more that top line revenue goes up, that means more people have said yes to the dentistry that they need, all right? And that's really what the mission should be. The mission should be to help people. And the more people that you can help, the more your production is gonna go up, and then therefore the more your revenue is gonna go up. And as I'm front loading these costs and I'm hiring more people to help more patients, I've also added more jobs to the community. And, I've given people opportunities to, support their families and given them pathways for growth in the dental industry that they may not be able to get anywhere else, especially at mom and pop dental offices that are only open 4 days a week. So as I grow my corporations, I'm helping people. I'm helping patients say yes to dentistry, getting their dental needs met. I'm helping my staff get good, high-paying jobs so they can take care of their families. And I'm increasing jobs in my community. And not only that, I'm opening more chairs, I'm opening up more hours, I'm making it more convenient for more patients to come in and get more dentistry done. So I firmly believe that the more people I help, the more I will be rewarded with more production, more revenue, and maybe more profit, more EBITDA after that. But again, I don't use profit as my metric. I use production as my metric, not only for the valuation of my company, but more importantly, how much I'm helping people, not only my patients, but also my staff. So I have a saying, your production is a measure of how much you help other people. Your profit is a measure of how much you help yourself. So at the end of the day, the money's got to go someplace. I prefer to put it back into the business, front load those costs, maybe run a, break even nonprofit organization for that matter. But again, I don't think profit is a very good measurement of the valuation of your company. I've explained to you why that is. I look at top line revenue, but more importantly, I look at the reasons why I want to drive my top line revenue, because I believe that the more I help others, the more I'll be helped at the end of the day. So in any case, I know this is a bit of a controversial view on profit. It's a bit of a different take, but if you were to ask me, what my profit is, the answer is I really don't care. So I care about helping people, and hopefully that this helps you, and I will see you on the next one. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, go to ownitdental.com or click the link above and check out my services. I have dozens of hours of training videos and have negotiated reduced lab fees for all my clients. So if you want to get out of the dental chair and start owning your business, go to ownitdental.com and check out my services, and I'll see you soon.